Nearly all government-financed housing projects in the United States began with the same dream, providing affordable, safe housing for low-income families. It is well known that certain housing projects are more dangerous than others. These housing projects are often located in low-income, high-crime areas and can present various challenges to residents and law enforcement. The term dangerous encompasses a wide range of factors, including crime rates, poverty levels, and overall community well-being. In addition to the reputation some of these housing projects have for being dangerous, it is important to consider the underlying economic and social factors that contribute to the conditions that make them so dangerous. For decades, American government's efforts to house the poor have relied on the construction of subsidized housing plots, more commonly known as projects. In the past, city planners used the term project to refer to the improvements these developments would provide. Today, the term is mostly associated with inner-city blight and crime. As a result of concentrated poverty and misguided public policy, these projects have become a key part of urban legend, news reports, and rap lyrics. Jordan Downs, Watts, Los Angeles, California. Jordan Downs is a 700-unit public housing apartment complex in Watts, next to David Starr Jordan High School. The complex is bounded by Grape Street to the west, 97th Street to the north, Alameda Street to the east, and 103rd Street to the south. The Jordan Downs consists of 103 buildings with townhouse-style units ranging from 1 bedroom to 5 bedrooms. Notable residents include track and field Olympic gold medalist Florence Dolores Griffith Joyner, also known as FloJo, actor Tyrese Gibson, and rapper O3 Greedo. Built in the 1940s, Jordan Downs was originally intended to house the influx of workers, many from the Jim Crow South, who arrived in California seeking jobs in wartime industries. In the early 1950s, the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles converted it to public housing. It was among the last of the public housing projects in Watts to be opened for that purpose. For many black migrants, it represented the hope of escaping segregation, but by the 1960s, Jordan Downs had become almost entirely black, and racial tensions in Los Angeles were reaching a boiling point. By 1965, those tensions erupted into the Watts riots, a violent uprising that underscored deep-seated inequality and systemic neglect. Like other projects in the area, Jordan Downs saw little benefit from post-riot federal aid. By the 70s and 80s, declining funding and growing disillusionment with public housing led to further deterioration.
Dawood, the young man who you saw me interview in the early part of this program, arranged for me to meet with a group of young men in a playground right next to a housing project where a lot of gang warfare once took place. Now there's a truce.
Dawood, huh? Why'd you bring me out here today?
I want you to see the real.
Where are we?
We're in the Jordan Down Project. We're in Watts. We're in extreme poverty. So this is poverty down here. You know, you got house niggas, you got field niggas. These are field niggas. This is where slaves migrated from the south to. And from here is where gangs all started from, what they proclaim. But from here is where people migrated to Compton, to the house districts. And these are the projects right here, our ghettos. And, you know, the mindset of illiteracy and, I mean, joblessness. I mean, this is it right here. I mean, broken home families.
But, all right, so you got a truce, and that is good. The blood isn't flowing in the streets like it used to. But is that it? What's next? What do you all think?
Can I, you want me to speak? I feel like this here. If we all start thinking in corporations, we ain't gonna get nowhere.
What you mean? Starting your own business?
Exactly. Our community, we have to communicate with other communities in order to have a combined community. Everybody's working together. We have to communicate with the Nickersons. Yeah. We have to communicate with the PJs. Yeah. That what keeps Watts together. You know what I'm saying? That's unity, you know? So whoever thought of community.
What about the stores in this community? Who's running the stores? Huh?
Ain't too many
left out here.
Who's controlling the economy of this community?
Mostly, I'm going to tell you.
Outsiders or insiders?
Outsiders.
In the mid-1980s, Jordan Downs was known as one of the homes of the newly prominent street gang, the Crips, particularly the Grape Street Crips, who wore purple bandanas in their left pocket. In the early 90s, the complex was used as one of the film locations for the critically acclaimed film Menace to Society, directed by the Hughes brothers. In the movie, residents of Jordan Downs appeared as extras, and the Grape Street Crips worked as security while filming. Between 2000 and 2011, 25 people were killed in Jordan Downs. In 2006 alone, the complex saw 19 gang-related shootings and 7 deaths. Today, Jordan Downs is currently under construction and completely transforming the projects into a modern urban village with new apartment complexes, new restaurants, retail stores, and parks. Peabody Darst Webb, St. Louis, Missouri. The Peabody Darst Webb housing complex on the near south side of St. Louis is comprised of the Clinton Peabody projects and the old high-rise housing projects of Darst Webb, later demolished, which opened in October 1956 and consisted of 4 9-story towers, and the A.M. Webb Apartments, opened in May 1961, consisted of 2 9-story, 1 12-story, and 1 8-story towers. The Clinton Peabody projects were built in 1942 on 24 acres and is the oldest public housing development in St. Louis. The Clinton Peabody Public Housing Complex has long struggled with high crime rates, gang activity, and deteriorating living conditions. As one of the city's oldest public housing developments, it has faced many of the same issues that plagued other St. Louis housing projects, including Pruitt-Igoe and Peabody Darst Webb. By the 2010s, Clinton Peabody became notorious for violent crime, drug trafficking, and shootings, with residents frequently reporting incidents of gun violence, robberies, and assaults. The St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department increased patrols in response to escalating violence, but systemic neglect, poverty, and lack of economic opportunities made crime a persistent issue. In recent years, the complex has also been the subject of housing violations and poor living conditions, with residents complaining about mold, rodent infestations, and broken plumbing.
Good evening. First on Fox, several people have been shot in downtown St. Louis.
It happened in the 1400 block of Choteau near the Ameren headquarters. Fox 2's Kelly Hoskins has details.
Well, this is still a very active scene. Investigators say that shooting all unfolded here at the Peabody Housing Complex. As you can see right here behind me, the investigation is centered around that vehicle here. Now, according to residents, they heard around 7 gunshots. St. Louis City Police confirmed that at least 3 people were wounded in what residents are calling a gun battle. Bob Reed Automotive Group Skyfox is over the scene, and you can see those evidence markers in the walkway between the buildings. Detectives are still unclear what led up to the shooting, but we talked to residents who are devastated and in shock.
It's sad, it's heartbreaking. You know, we already have a lot going on against us as black people, and to see us just steady, you know, shooting at each other, killing each other over senseless stuff, it's like we can't come together. It just hurts my heart, actually.
I think whenever you see, you know, something like this happening, the shootings and the violence, it's always sad to see.
The Clinton Peabody project is currently being rebuilt into a mixed-income development with various housing typologies. The project's vision includes integrating retail and other community amenity and convenience functions, a responsible parking strategy, and integrated landscape design within the entire development. CJ Peak/Magnolia Projects, New Orleans, Louisiana. Officially named the CJ Peak Projects, the development was also referred to as Magnolia, Nolia, and MP3. The Magnolia projects were constructed in Central City, a historically significant yet economically challenged part of uptown New Orleans. The first part of the project was constructed in 1941, bordered by Louisiana Avenue, Magnolia Street, Washington Avenue, and LaSalle Street. In 1955, the complex was expanded north past Clara Street, incorporating about 6 additional city blocks. The Magnolia Projects was made famous by rappers such as Juvenile, Soulja Slim, and Magnolia Shorty. At its height, the Magnolia Projects had 1,403 units, making it one of the largest housing projects in New Orleans. Over time, the complex became one of the most notorious public housing developments in the city, known for its high crime rates, gang activity, and poverty. By the 1980s and 1990s, the area had become a hub for drug trafficking and violent crime, with frequent shootings, homicides, and gang conflicts, making it one of the most dangerous areas in New Orleans. The Magnolia Projects would birth infamous gangs and groups such as the Dooney Boys, one of New Orleans' largest street gangs, who called Magnolia home. The Dooney Boys were deeply entrenched in the drug trade, controlling corners and operating in a highly volatile environment where rivalries with other gangs often led to deadly shootouts.
Man, what's the worst shit you probably seen happen in the Magnolia that you witnessed with your eyes?
I saw a nigga in a circle turning green and purple, you know, like literally green, like, bro, I don't want to say dude name, but that was my first time seeing somebody get killed with a chopper. Like, that shit tear your body up.
You in the vicinity, you see it.
Like when murders happen in the Magnolia when we were young, we want to see the dead body. Like, it might sound crazy, but we were so used to shootouts and all that. After the shooting stopped, now you about to have a crowd like a concert. We want to see the body. They left dude out so long, the nigga was turning green and purple.
Damn.
In 2001 to 2002, demolition of portions of the projects began as part of a Housing Authority of New Orleans revitalization plan. By 2005, only the 1955 expansion had been demolished. The majority of the remaining buildings were vacant and fenced off, with only a portion still occupied. When Hurricane Katrina struck, only 20% of the units were occupied, and demolition of the remaining buildings would be completed by 2008. In 2011, the area was rebranded as the Harmony Oaks Community and opened as a mixed-use community of 460 apartments and homes, including public housing, low-income and market-rate dwellings. Nickerson Gardens, Watts, Los Angeles, California. Constructed in 1955, Nickerson Gardens is a 1,066-unit public housing apartment complex situated on 55 acres at 1590 East 114th Street in Watts. Nickerson Gardens is the largest public housing development in Los Angeles and the largest housing development west of the Mississippi River. The complex consists of 156 buildings with townhouse-style units made up of single-bedroom units. In the mid-1970s, Nickerson Gardens was 95% African American. However, by 2004, the African American population had decreased to 75% and continued to drop. Nickerson Gardens is known as the birthplace of the Bounty Hunter Bloods, one of the most infamous gangs in Los Angeles, and has been a stronghold for them for years. The gang has been involved in drug trafficking, shootings, and violent territorial disputes with rival gangs, such as the Grape Street Crips from Jordan Downs and the P.J. Watts Crips from Imperial Courts. These rivalries fueled a cycle of gang violence, leading to frequent shootings and homicides within the complex.
Developing news now at 4:30. Shots fired. 2 people injured in a shooting in Watts. It happened near the Nickerson Gardens public housing complex.
And assignment editor Mike Rogers is at the desk. Mike, you heard this on the radio, then sent the chopper, right?
Yeah, so we were listening to this for quite a while here because originally it came out as a shooting call at 114th and Alvaro. That got the attention of the LAPD. They got multiple 911 calls on this. And then as soon as an officer got in the area, they put out what's called an officer needs help call, which is the highest level of backup because an additional shooting had happened, it sounds like, right in front of these officers at 112th and Central. I want to show you a video from SkyCal, who was over the scene here. This is the original scene, 114th and Alvaro. The Nickerson Gardens public housing complex is right there on the left. That's those yellow buildings. And then as those officers were responding is when they found out that there is an additional gunshot victim at 112th and Central. LA Fire Department was there. They took both of the people to the hospital. Right now, their condition is unknown. This was originally described on the radio as a drive-by shooting that occurred there. So exactly what the motivation was is unclear, but here is how close the 2 shootings were. You see that one was in the parking lot here, and then as SkyCal kind of pans out and over to the left there, this intersection is 112th and Central. That is where the second gunshot victim was, and the suspect was taken into custody.
Contrary to popular belief, world-famous rapper Kendrick Lamar was not raised in these projects, as Nickerson Gardens has been referenced in many of his songs such as Duckworth, Whacked Out Murals, and Not Like Us. He and his colleagues at Top Dog Entertainment have had a Christmas toy drive every December since 2014. TDE founder Anthony Top Dog Tiffith and their flagship artist J-Rock, Johnny McKenzie Jr., were both born and raised in Nickerson Gardens. Queensbridge houses Queens, New York. Queensbridge houses, also known simply as Queensbridge or QB, is a public housing development in the Long Island City neighborhood of Queens. The development contains 96 buildings with 3,142 units accommodating approximately 7,000 people in 2 separate complexes, north and south. The complex opened in 1939 and is currently the largest housing project in North America, following the demolition of Chicago's Robert Taylor homes. During the 1950s, the management changed the racial balance of Queensbridge by transferring all families whose income was more than $3,000 per year, a majority of whom were white, to middle-income housing projects, and replacing most of these tenants with African American and Latino families. Queensbridge's 96 6-story buildings have a distinctive double Y shape, designed for more privacy and sunlight than traditional cross-shaped layouts. Built cost-efficiently, early elevators stopped only at the 1st, 3rd, and 5th floors, but were later upgraded. The halls are worn with faded blue tiles, and the buildings consists of small apartments even by New York standards. By the 1970s, Queensbridge experienced a rise in crime along with the rest of the city. During the height of the crack epidemic in 1986, Queensbridge experienced more murders than any other NYC Housing Authority complex in New York City.
Planning a visit to his old neighborhood recently, so we asked if we could tag along, and here's what we saw.
This building was my world at one point, and it is embedded in my heart. You know what I mean? This is all we knew. This is our world.
22-year-old rapper Nas was born and raised in the Queensbridge houses just over the East River from Manhattan. With almost 7,000 residents, Queensbridge is New York City's largest housing project. And while it may look nice enough, its history of violent crime makes it anything but an easy place to grow up.
A lot of things go down, like incarceration, you know, crime, drugs, violence. Out of all of this, you gotta look for the positive, you know what I mean? You gotta say, yo, besides all of this, you could be somebody.
Nas is just the latest somebody to transform the negatives of the Queensbridge houses into hip-hop success.
If hip-hop is Africa, Queensbridge is Egypt. The gods of hip-hop came through here. Marley Marl, Eric B. and Rakim, MC Shan, Craig G, Mobb Deep. Anytime you got people coming from these neighborhoods, it has no choice but to produce a product like that. Yo, it's like Manhattan is right here, over the bridge, you know what I mean? But right here, we in the world by ourselves. We right here.
Queensbridge is a legendary hub for hip-hop, producing some of the genre's most iconic artists. Marley Marl, one of the most pioneering producers in hip-hop, was the first in a long lineage of acclaimed artists from Queensbridge, helping establish the Juice Crew in the 1980s, featuring Queensbridge rappers MC Shan, Roxanne Shante, and Craig G. The neighborhood remained a powerhouse, later producing legendary artists like Nas, Mobb Deep Prodigy and Havoc, Cormega, Capone Noriega, and Tragedy Gaddafi. Their gritty storytelling about life in the projects cemented Queensbridge as one of hip-hop's most influential neighborhoods. For many years, Queensbridge has had a problem with drug dealers and drug users. However, in the 2000s, crime went down. In February 2005, an 11-month police investigation led to the arrest of 37 people during a drug bust that dismantled the infamous Dream Team drug syndicate. Ida B. Wells Homes, Chicago, Illinois. First constructed from 1939 to 1941 to house African American tenants. The Ida B. Wells Homes, which also comprised the Clarence Darrow Homes and Madden Park Homes, was a Chicago Housing Authority public housing project located in the heart of the Bronzeville neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. The Ida B. Wells Homes consisted of row houses, mid-rises, and high-rise apartment buildings. It was Chicago's fourth public housing project built before World War II, significantly larger than others, with 1,662 units, including 860 apartment units, nearly 800 row house and garden apartment units, and included a city park, Madden Park. During the 1970s, the Chicago Housing Authority no longer screened applicants closely and operated on a first-come, first-served basis, which brought in many residents with criminal and drug addiction backgrounds. By the 1980s and 1990s, the projects had severely deteriorated, becoming overrun with drug addicts and criminals, making them extremely unsafe. The Black P-Stones gang in particular asserted authority over the area and residents of the Ida B. Wells Homes. Eugene Hairston, co-founder of the Black P-Stones, was shot dead at his home there in September 1988. Police presence in the projects was minimal, and daily gunfire echoed as Black P-Stones and gangster disciples fought over drug turf. Residents witnessed rampant drug deals and violence throughout the community. A 30-minute audio documentary entitled Ghetto Life 101, released in 1993, was made by two teenagers from the project, Llewellyn Jones and Lloyd Newman. Their second audio documentary is titled Remorse, The 14 Stories of Eric Morse, which won a Peabody Award, deals with the murder of 5-year-old Eric Morse in Ida B. Wells. On October 13, 1994, he was pushed from the window of a vacant 14th floor apartment by two older kids, 10-year-old Jesse Rankins and 11-year-old Tykees Johnson, after he refused to steal candy for them. According to published reports, Eric was also stabbed and maced before he was dropped from the window. Morse's murder was notable for the young ages of the victim and the killers, and brought further national attention to the plight of children in Chicago's housing projects. Rankins and Johnson, both minors at the time, were convicted for the murder of 5-year-old Morse and sentenced to 5 years imprisonment each. Derek Lemon, Morse's older brother who struggled to save Eric in the moments before he was dropped, received a lawsuit settlement in Eric's death for more than $1 million from the Chicago Housing Authority and a private management company. Lemon himself is now currently serving a 71-year sentence for murder, charged in the fatal shooting of his aunt's boyfriend at a barbecue in 2006.
41-year-old Melody, who did not want her last name used, may soon be losing the only housing she has. By day, Melody walks the grounds of Chicago's Ida B. Wells housing development. Legal public housing residents still remain in Wells, but it and other projects are in the process of being demolished as part of the most ambitious public housing renewal plan in the country. The high-rises that once surrounded Wells are gone, and more vacant apartments are being boarded up as residents are moved out ahead of next year's scheduled demolition of the low-rises. These are the units that Melody and other illegal squatters sneak into when they need a place to sleep.
So what's the hardest part about staying in a place like this?
Surviving, eating, maintaining your hygiene.
College educated, but now drug and alcohol addicted, she prefers the filthy, bug-infested unit without electricity to a homeless shelter.
In the shelter, they have a lot of rules and regulations, and even in the shelter, you have to leave at 5 in the morning. You can't come in to a certain time, and there's certain things, and then you're dealing with so many people, kids, all sorts of people. So this is a little bit more private. I mean, it seems horrible, but it's private.
Melody and 384 other squatters at this project, including 94 children, are about to lose the only living space they have because the...
In 1995, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development took control of the Chicago Housing Authority's public housing and moved to demolish the high-rises. Demolition of the Ida B. Wells homes began in late 2002 with the high-rise buildings along Cottage Grove Avenue and concluded in August 2011 with the final structures at 3718 South Vincennes Avenue. In 2003, construction began on Oakwood Shores, a mixed-income community set to replace Ida B. Wells, Madden Park, and Clarence Darrow.